when I think of my dear brother, Mark Ridley-Thomas, I think of integrity, 40 years, maturity, 40 years, tenacity, moral, spiritual tenacity on the wretched terrain of electoral politics, dealing with all of what's coming at you, negotiating, navigating, yet still being consistent in the way in which you keep the focus on those stone called everyday people. And so people know that I have my own deep critiques of electoral politics, working with Brother Bernie Sanders and a host of others. But anytime I talk about elected officials, I come back to Mark Ridley-Thomas, not just the first black man to win the county board in LA, which is very much like being a member of Congress in terms of the millions, but I'm talking about the degree to which you are consistently there. We were there at Charles Drew when they opened up the hospital. We've been together at the Empowerment Congress, which is the biggest gathering, organized coming together of black folk in the whole state of California. You've been rooted in the best of the chocolate tradition of black people, but you always reach out. Asians, Latino, whites, Jews, Catholics, Buddhists, atheistic, agnostic, and so forth. And that's why it's just a joy, though, brother, to be your brother. And it's a joy to always be a part of any campaign that you're a part of.
Tell me what disturbs you, what concerns you, what frightens you, and what perhaps scares you about this moment in time.
The economic catastrophe of wealth inequality, the work that you've done, for example, on the homeless, though, brother. We've had long talks wrestling with that. It's our precious brothers and sisters of all colors out there dangling, not being treated with dignity. The ways in which you've been struggling for housing and quality housing in the nation with overwhelming wealth, and yet still trying to gain access to the resources for ordinary people. Those are all signs of a spiritual decay, though, man. A certain collapse of genuine integrity and decency. And what happens is you get greed is good, might makes right, and indifference to the most vulnerable is itself rewarded. The kingdom of God is within Mark Ridley-Thomas, and I've seen the heaven he has left behind in a hellish context of people suffering, racism, class subordination, homophobia, anti-Asian sensibility, anti-Jewish sensibility. I've seen you consistently and been there with you, taking a stand. I said they're going to be a long-distance runner, just like my dear brother Mark Ridley-Thomas. Now, we ain't talking about these sprinters out here. He's sprinting for a little while and then all of a sudden run out of gas. No. I'm talking about somebody who works on the building every year, every decade, stays at it, misunderstood sometimes, put down sometimes, but still got a smile on his face, still got style in the way he walks, still got his magnificent family as wind as his back, and still got his partner named Cornel West on the east side of the country who's going to be with him all the way down. Why? Because we come from a people who have a rich spirituality. So we have to vote, we got to fight, we got to organize, we got to mobilize. You and I come from a people who have been hated chronically for 400 years and taught so much of the world of how to love and what love is about. So there's a love supreme of John Coltrane in Mark Ridley-Thomas. It's Stevie Wonder's Love of the Need of Love in Mark Ridley-Thomas. I'm not trying to say you're a saint. I'm trying to say you are a human being who is a real force for good, who looks at the world through the lens of the heart, but got one of the most sophisticated and nuanced intellects that I know of. And got a practical wisdom that he learned from his grandmama Sylvia, and got a deep commitment to something bigger than him, no matter how grim the situation is. So you vote on the one hand, absolutely, to push back on the forces that are trying to crush the weak and the vulnerable, but also you recognize it's part of a larger matrix. It's how you relate to each other. It's how you connect with other human beings. So you're not putting folk down. You're not dismissing folk. You're trying to accent the best in them. And when you love folk, you try to protect them, respect them, but also correct them. And you and I, older brothers, we get corrected by young folk. We correct young folk too. We come from a great tradition of a people who've been hungry for respect, hungry for protection, but also open to correction. And so November the 3rd, District 10, MRT is my brother, the candidate, the force for good, maturity, vision, tenacity, spiritual depth, and a willingness, most importantly, to serve out of a joy. And it's a blessing to be with you, to love you, to respect you, and to stand next to you as you win this next election, November 3rd.